Good morning. It's the 26th of January and it's quite bright outside, but a very low temperature this morning. I'm on the Shankill Road, but I'm not on the Shankill Road. I'm on Google Maps and I'm just opposite Argyle Street, and there's a little walk through alley link, and there's something very peculiar on it as regards street art. I don't know whether you can make that out or not, but I'll get a better picture for you. And I went up to video this. It's actually a funeral cortege with a hearse on a gun carriage being pulled by black horses. It's very impressive looking. And this was the grave of a Shankill Road man, or this was the funeral of a Shankill Road man back in 1936. This was the funeral that came along Northumberland Street, and it was the funeral of a guy called Richard Mussen. And Richard Mussen is well worth remembering when you're talking about the Shankill Road. And probably most people have never heard of his name. So that's what I'm going to tell you about. Unfortunately, whenever I arrived up the other day, up the Shankill, to video this brilliant wall mural, tribute to Richard Mussen, the whole thing was blocked off by a marquee, would you believe? That meant that you just couldn't see the mural in behind. It was tight up against the wall. So this is why I'm resorting to Google Maps and the internet. So who exactly was Richard Mussen? Well, there's an information board with a big poppy tribute to him. He was a member of the British Army. Here's what the citation underneath says: tribute to Richard Mussen, a soldier of the Shankill. This mural provides the history of the Shankill War hero Richard Mussen, who served in both Zulu War and World War I. I mean, that's quite remarkable, but it gets even more remarkable as we find out more about this man. He was born on Dundee Street, but he joined the army at the age of 15, and that was quite commonplace in those days. He joined the Royal Inniskillen Fusiliers, the 27th Foot, at the age of 15, and at 18 volunteered for active service in the Zulu War. Now, this is where it gets interesting. And he transferred to the South Wales Borderers. They were the 24th Foot. And here's the interesting part for me. He was one of the few survivors of the Battle of York's Drift in 1879. And York's Drift mission had been surrounded by 3,000 to 4,000 Zulus with their shields, their cowhide shields, and their war cries and their long spears. 3,000 to 4,000 Zulus were coming down on York's Drift. And how many British soldiers, including Richard Mussen from the Shankill, were there to defend the position? There were 150, and they sandbagged themselves in and whatnot in different layers, and they had rifles and as one section went down on their on one knee to reload, the other section in behind stood up and fired, and this went on and on and on until there were piles of Zulu warriors' bodies all around the station. There were 150 of those guys, and they survived the onslaught of the spears and the tide of human beings set to kill them. And this whole battle has been immortalised in the film Zulu, and one of the main stars is still alive, Michael Caine. So our friend Richard Mussen was one of the survivors of that engagement, which is world famous today. The following year he was invalided out of the army. I believe he had lost an eye, or his eye was damaged. But again, he joined the British Army at the outbreak of World War I, serving in the 9th Battalion, Royal Ulster Rifles, 36th Division, on duties within Northern Ireland. And on the wall that I wanted to video is the mural, oh dear, depicting his funeral. So that's beside this information board. This is Dundee Street today. It's totally redeveloped, and it's got Iceland on one side and flats on the other, and that's a wall mural remembering the atrocities visited upon the Shankill by the Provisional IRA. And this is the fabulous wall mural, tribute to Richard Mussen, soldier of the Shankill. The Zulu War, of course, was 1879, and this is the funeral cortege, as I said, coming up Northumberland Street from Dundee Street, where he lived. And this is the Richard Mussen Memorial from another angle. It was commissioned by Ex-Prisoners Interpretive Centre, EPIC. This mural shows the Shankill Road funeral with full military honours for Richard Mussen, and there's a wee bit down and underneath it. And he served at York's Drift in the Zulu War, January 1879, and in the First World War, along with his four sons and two sons-in-law, and we're not told how many of them survived the First World War. And he died at his home in 22 Dundee Street, 1937. And this mural is by a guy called Sam Bates, and Sam Bates is some operator. This is a brilliant mural. I've never come across his work before, and I've videoed an awful lot of street art around Belfast. I don't know when this mural was put up. This mural by Sam Bates stands out for its unique spray painted style. It certainly does. And that's the website if you want to check this out for yourself. And there's the map of the Shankill if you want to know exactly where this is. And there's an awful lot of other stuff on the Shankill Road that you might be interested in. And I have videoed some of it. I'll just scroll across. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Someone who was there and survived York's Drift. Unbelievable. And he came from the Shankill. And this is on top of something else I discovered some time ago. I found the grave of Sergeant John Brown, who was at Balaclava. I mean, he's in Shankill graveyard, and there's his grave. And he rode with the charge of the Light Brigade. And, you know, this is history on our doorsteps. And yet our school children never hear of the likes of this. This isn't taught in school. Oh dear. You know, why not take the youngsters doing history for an hour out to see the grave sites of these people and the murals that are up commemorating them. And the youngsters wouldn't forget it. You know, this is real history. It's all very well studying, you know, what the Romans did, but it has no connection to what, to our youngsters sitting in school today. And this has a real connection. These were real people who lived, you know, in the streets that many of our youngsters live in today in Belfast. And I found Richard Mussen's grave in the Shankill through Ever After website, and I'll show you that now. This is the Ever After website that helps us find people from the past, relatives, friends, if we've lost knowledge of where they're buried. So what I have done is this is a quick search, deceased records, and this website finds graves in I think it's it's the whole of the UK, and it's in the United States, and I think it's New Zealand, and I'm not too sure what other places. Not all cemeteries are covered in this. I was looking for a particular grave last night in Northern Ireland, and couldn't find the cemetery. And you know, they're obviously still working on it, adding to it. But here's what I've done. I've put in the quick search, first name, last name, that's Richard Mussen, country, Northern Ireland, and it's in the City Cemetery. It's in the Glenalina extension, so that's important, because if you just punch in City Cemetery, you'll not find this. And there he is, and it says date of death 27th of December 1936, date of burial 29th, and age 70. So, you know, this is fascinating. And then you can go and view more information. So I'll punch on that, and there's an image comes up, and he's in grave 128, but there's no headstone, which is a pity. So there it is there, and you can view a map as to where exactly this grave is in the City Cemetery. So I'll go way out. So there's the entrance to the City Cemetery down there, and this gentleman, Richard Mussen, is away up at the top end here. Oh, I've lost him. Yeah, way up at the top end. So it would be easily possible to find his grave if anybody wants to do that. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. He was at York's Drift. Yeah, my goodness.